Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Bava daf Nun Aleph. We're going to begin on the bottom of Nun Amud Beis, 3 lines by the medium-sized lines, 2 dots, Tanan. So we learned in the Mishnah, Hayu Pchusin Miasar Tfachim. So let's say the pit, the bore was less than 10 Tfachim, which is not Kedei Lohamas. So the Mishnah said that if an animal fell into this pit, because it's so small, and even though it dies, you're going to be potter. You're still going to be chayiv for damages. Now, why? It must be because there's no chavata. Now, we were learning this machlokas Rav and Shmuel. What is the reason why you're going to be chayiv for an animal that is damaged or dies in a pit? So according to Rav, he said the reason is because it's lahavola v'lchavatoi. It's because of the odor. Basically, the animal falls into a pit head first, and because of the odor and the smell or the lack of oxygen, it suffocates. Let's say it that way. However, the hit, if it died because of the bang, so according to Rav, you're going to be potter. However, according to Shmuel, you are chayiv also l'chavatai. Now, the question is, why, if it's pachais miasara, what is the reason why your potter shouldn't have died? So it must be because there's no chavata. The hit is not so powerful. Because it's small, it's not such a deep pit, so therefore the air quality is not as bad. Just say it that way. I don't understand. Why do we say that if it is damaged because of the smell, the odor, that you're going to be chayiv? But what do you mean? If it's pachas miyud, there should be no havala, as we said. So Amri ein havala misa, v'yesh havala l'nizakin. So the fact is, it may not be so bad as far as dying because of it, but it could still do damage. So we have this ox, the nafal that fell la'arita de daloi, in a stream which is for irrigation. Now, these types of streams are 1 amma, or 6 tfachim, which the key obviously means it's less than yud. Shachte mari, so the master shechted. Tarfi Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said that this animal is a treifa. Why? It says Rashi Mishum risuke ivarim, because its limbs were shaken. Dehi achas miyudches treifas tetnan is one of the 18 manners in which an animal is considered to be a treifa. Nafal minagav, if falls from a roof, afal pi. You don't see the wound externally. You can't stand. And we said over there in Chulin, the im shahasim eis l'eis the shachtak shera. If you waited a 24-hour period of time and it's still alive, then it's cautious non treifa. The im amda v'holcha, if it just stood up, enos richam eis l'eis. Then you don't even need to wait the 24 hours to shachta, because obviously the fact that it was able to stand up on its own, it's fine. The shor zeh will amad. So in this case, the ox was not able to stand, and he shechted it before me'es la'es, before the 24 hours, and therefore he said it's a treifa. So Rav Nachman, ishakul mari dehai Torah kaba de kimcha. If this master of the ox took a kav of wheat, says Rashi, as some type of expenditures until they went to the chachamim to ask this whole shaila im shasam eis la'es or shachtak shera. In Russia, and they went to the Beis Medrash, and they said that if you would have waited 24 hours, it would be a kosher animal. He's not going to lose out because he should have waited, even though the animal is worth a lot. So we see the fact that this story unfolds, and that Rav Nachman says this animal's a treifa, yesh chavata b'pachas me'asara. Obviously, because this again is an irrigation channel, which is only 6 tefachim, and yet he says that the animal is like a treifel, he was going to die, must be because of the chavata, even under 10 tefachim. So so if that's true, we have a question on him. It says, as we mentioned before, my time lamishum delays may chavata. The reason why, if the animal did die, there's no chavata. So therefore, because it's not going to die normally by falling not so far, even though it did, the din is your potter. Now, according to him, he holds that pachas misara, there's still a din chavata. So that therefore is a question on our Mishnah. So on Rav Nachman. So on this, nun aleph aleph lo mishum delays me havala, because it has no havala. However, says Rashi of a chavat isbe, but there is a hit. I feel hachi potter karav. Hachi huzik b'chayev halays me havala. But if it doesn't, if it's less than yud, there's no havala. So as we said before, armale ein hevel amisa v'yesh hevel in the zok. So it's not enough to kill, but it's enough to do damage, and we're high for damages. So we ask the following question: Beis skill, when it comes to a person who is being sentenced to death, so we say that it's twice the height of his body. The Tani Allah, we learned regarding this, the shaloi harikan shalish, and it's including actually his, and therefore it's 3. If you want to tell me it's shaykh, that a person could die by hitting the ground less than yud tvachim, why does he have to fall from such a very high place? So it says, one second, so then make it exactly 10 tvachim. Why does it have to be even a drop higher than 10 tvachim? So we want to choose a good misa for him, so that he's not going to fall and possibly, if it's 10 tvachim, he'll die, but it may take him a while to die. It can be much more painful, but this way it'll be an instantaneous death. So, which again, as we saw before, the din of Yaftarech Hamocha is not just someone who's nice. Even when you're sentencing someone to death, you have to show that level of sensitivity. Yahachi nagba tfei, so they make it higher, have him push him off the Empire State Building. So mishum deminavel, because that will cause his body to be destroyed. It'll ruin his limbs. Who knows what could happen? We'll have to get into all those details. We can use our imagination, and therefore that's too much. Okay. So Eisvei, the Gemara asks a question. The pasuk says kiipul hanoiful mimenu, that the person fell. Mimenu v'loy b'soichai. So it says not within. Says Rashi. What does it mean mimenu v'loy b'soichai? Says Rashi, bias gavoyim rishus harabim. If you have a house that is above the rishus harabim, shiroy lipul mimenu rishus harabim, that you can take a fall from the roof of one's private house into the rishus harabim, chayiv. B'maka, you're still obligated to have a fence around your house, around your roof. V'lo bayis omuk mershus harabim shahanoifel noifel gagoy. We're not talking about the other way around, that the house is deep below the rishus harabim, and we're afraid that he's going to fall onto the man's roof. So that's what it means. Ki yipol hanoifel mimenu, that you fall from it. Not that someone will fall from rishus harabim into your property. Ketzad, let's say the rishus harabim is higher than your land, your roof. And he fell from the rishus harabim into your roof, or onto your roof, and he died, your potter. However, let's say it's deep 10, and he fell from it into it, you're chayim, because you're falling, in this case, from your roof. And that's why, again, you have to have a market. If it's possible that a person can be injured significantly, even less than 10 tvachim, lamli asara, you should need a makkah even if it's less than 10 tefachim. It's different because if you're talking about a house which is not even 10 tefachim, it's not even a house, says Rashi. Even though it's maybe shaykh that a person could, like Rav Nachman said, pachas migid, still, it's possible that there could be chavata, but we're talking about a chiv of a makkah is only connected to a house, and a house has to be 10 tefachim high. So let's say we talk about from the outside of the house, it's 10 tefachim. Dalmine tikro mazeva migavoy loy havi asara. So inside the house is actually now less than 10. We're talking about where he dug inside to the ground. So basically what that means is perhaps he lives partially below ground level, so he still has 10 tefachim of space inside and 10 tefachim from the ground. So if that's the case, let's say if he didn't, it's not 10 tefachim, you could still say that he dug 10 tefachim inside. In other words, maybe that's the reason why there's a chavata, because he dug inside. It's really talking about 10. Mikresa de Torah la'ara kamahavi arba. From the belly of the ox to the ground, it's 4 tefachim. Arisa de dale kamahavi shisa hasara. The arisa. Let's look at Rashi. El time of mishum de ein chavata b'achas me'asarahu. So again, it's talking about where the animal itself is 6, and then the wall is the animal is 4 from its body to the ground, and it's another 6. So therefore, it's a 6 tefach pit, which is interesting because that's precisely the case that we said before on the previous Amud when we were dealing with this case of this this trough, in which we said it's exactly 6 tefachim, right, or 1 amma. This case, ahu Torah de nafala arisa, because maybe we're talking about the case. That's what we're talking about. This arisa, the stream for irrigation, there's only 6 tefachim, but because it's 6 tefachim and the animal is 4 tefachim from the ground, that equals 10. Therefore, it was actually 10. But so the truth is, it shouldn't say 10 tefachim, it should say 6. So Amri Masnisin, our Mishnah is the gander labor, where the shore rolls into the pit. So not that it was walking and therefore there's 4 tefachim from the ground to its body, but rather that it was on the ground first and then it rolled and it fell into the pit. And therefore, in that situation, you would need the pit to be 10 tefachim. Let's see the next Mishnah. Masnisin. Bor shel shnei shutman. So you have a pit which belongs to 2 partners. Avar alav harishayin. The first person leaves, v'kisahu, and he didn't cover up the pit, which he probably should have. Vasheni, and the second comes, v'kisahu hasheni chayev. So the second person is going to be chayev, and the chiddush, as Rashi says, varishan potter. The reason why is because he could say, listen, I left, I saw that you were drawing water still, and I figured that after you, the second guy was going to finish drawing the water, going to close up the pit. The fact that you didn't, so you're responsible. Gemara. How do we find a case of a partner, a pit of 2 partners? So hanicha, is smear like Rabbi Kiva. I can understand like Rabbi Kiva the Omer bor b'shushu chayav, that he said the case that you can be chayav even if the bor is in your rishus. Mishkachsel b'chatzir shel shneim. It could be that the chatzir belongs to both of them, ubar shel shneim, and they both own the pit. and they also own the property. So according to him, if they were mafkir their rishus, but not their bor, so instead they were mafkir their rishus, so people can walk in there, but they still were not mafkir the pit, and therefore they are considered to be the case of a bal habor, and that's the reason why you're going to be chayiv. So this case should be potter. How could you be chayiv? The only time that you would be chayiv, according to the other shita, is a bor b'rishus harabim, but you can't two can't dig the same pit. So what do you mean they're big digging a pit? What are they doing? Two people are doing it. So in the shavi shliach tirvayu, let's say they both appointed a shliach to dig the pit. The amrle zil karilan, we both want you to dig this pit. The all karu when they did it. Well, in shliach davar avera, we know that in shliach davar avera, as we saw in the Masechtas Kedushin, and it says Rashi, amrle divrei harav divrei talmud divrei mishaymin. So you obviously listen to your Rabbi, not to your teacher. So therefore, in this situation, they would not be chayiv, because the person who dug the pit is the one who's chayiv. He shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have listened to him. V'dikara hai chamisha v'hai chamisha. Let's say one did 5, one did 5, to equal the 10. To nistalku hu ma'aser yishayin. So the first person was like nostalgic, namely the idea is that he didn't make a pit which was of significant danger. He only made it a 5, so he shouldn't be as chayav as the second guy who completed it. Now Hanichol Rabbi, it's good according to Rabbi Volin is Zakin that our mission is where it says your chayav is by damages. So mishkachas law. So we can find that they're both chayiv in damages, because even 5 tvachim could cause damage. El Rabbi la Misa, according to Rabbi who says that our mission is talking about Misa. So says Rashi, Misa moeded acharon chayiv v'lo rishon. Only the second person should be chayiv, but not the first. Or Rabbanan ben Lemisa ben Lezakin hechem mishkachas law. So I'm Rabbi Yochanan going she'akru shneim chulia bebas achas. Then basically both of them dug at the same time, and they together completed as 10. Just push it. They both dug the pit at the exact same time and completed it to 10 together. So my Rabbi, my Rabbanan. We were saying, according to Rabbi, according to Rabbanan, who is Rabbi and who's the Rabbanan? We haven't seen this yet. So this is alluding to something we did see before, but we haven't seen it recently. The Sanya, as we learned in the Brisa, it says like this: Echad chayfer bor tisha. If you have one guy who dug 9 tefachim, and the second guy came, only did was dig one last tefach, but that last tefach made it to 10. So the question is, who's chayiv over here? So we say hacharon chayiv. The last person is chayiv. The Rebbe Omer acharein lemisa. We say that because a pit which is 10 tefachim is kedei l'chametz, and therefore the last person only is going to be chayiv for killing the animal. However, because pachas miyud, you can still do damage, therefore both of them are chayiv. So again, according to Rebbe, it makes sense, because you can just say we're talking about a case of damages in which they would be chayiv. So my time of the Rabbanan that say what they say, the Amakra, ki yiftach v'chi yichra. So this is kasha we had before. Even all you're doing is opening up the pit. So kiriel koshike, and certainly for digging it, el havi kara achar kairu. We're talking about a digger after another digger. Shesilik ma'aser yishayin. That only the second person is chayiv, even when it comes to damages. For Rabbi Armelach will say no. Hanu mitzrach srichin. So we had this before. Kidam rinan. We said this before, so the Gemara doesn't feel compelled to go through this again. We saw in Daf Nun that there's a chiddush by digging. Again, the question is, if you actually all you did was take off a lid, so you can just put the lid back on. If you dug the hole, maybe just covering it is not enough. You actually have to fill it up with earth. Okay, ayin sham. For Rabbanan nami misach srichi, the Rabbanan taka also require it. So therefore, how do they know their din, that their person's only the second person will be chayiv when it comes to damages? The pasuk says when a man digs the pit, bor echad v'lishnayim, one and not two. So ki echad ish bor echad v'lishnayim. It's only one person digging it and not two. Therefore, if you have two people digging it, you're always going to be potter. No, it's coming to tell you that it's only when you dig the pit, but not if your animal dug a pit. Borksivi. He says that there's actually two different places, so I can learn out my din. That again, you're only one person is going to be chayiv, but not if both people dug or digging after digging, they'll be potter. The second guy, rather I should say, is chayiv, and the second drasha of v'loshorbor. So the question is, what does Rabbi do with that extra these extra words in the pasuk? Rabbi ida kasav high. So it's just a way of language, but it doesn't mean it's a proper pasuk for a riboy. Now, according to the Rabbanan, why should they say that only the second guy is chayiv? Why don't we say the first guy should be chayiv? If you can only choose one, maybe the first guy. He's the one who started the problems. It says the corpse of the animal will belong to him. Obviously referring to the one who caused the animal to die, which was the last one. I thought we needed this for a different drasha. Shor psuli hamukdashim. When it comes to a shore, which has psul mikdashim, Rashi says, for example, a bechor, a firstborn animal, which is a balmum, which shehu shel kayin that crean be shor ehu. So we read the pasuk of shor ehu. The afil hachil Indian bor potter. Dechsev hamesi eloi. Mishuroyul hachil nevelasul eklavim yotzezet. So when it comes to psul mikdashim, you can't give it over to dogs. You can't give its nevela to a dog because it's psul mikdashim. So Gabi Psul Mikdashim Shenifdu, even though it was redeemed, Tizbach, it says it can be slaughtered, brought, Lo Giza, Baser V'Lochol, V'Yachalta V'Yol Kolavecha. So we make this drasha from this pasuk that you cannot give it to your animals. So therefore, the only time we would say that there's a din that you would be chayiv is only if it's something which is shachted as it's nevela b'hamesiel loy, that it's yours and you can give it to your animal. However, if you can't give it to your kelev, that like by psul mikdashim, not. That's the drasha. Shem b'hamesiel lo b'mi shamei shaloi amri v'la b'meil shemami. No, I can't just figure this out. No, dahu the avad misa askinon. This is again talking about a situation of misa. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. Echad hachayfer bor Sarah. Uba achar b'shlimul chaf. Uba achar b'shlimul shleishim kun chayavin. So in this situation, it's not that it was 5 and 5. The first person dug a pit which is 10 tvachim, which is kedei l'hamas, and the second, which certainly would be chayiv. The chiddush is the second and third person, they dug the hole deeper, 20, 30. So the truth is, the animal is going to die anyway. But as they made the hole bigger, all three of them are chayiv. Minhu echad chayiv bar sarah v'achar v'siyad v'kiyad acharon chayiv. Let's say you have a situation, one person dug a pit which is 10 tvachim, the second person added plaster and did all these different things to it. Only the second guy is chayiv. So what do you mean that you would say that kulam chayavim when it came to 10, 20, and 30 as we continue to know of the base? So leima ha Rabbi Rabbanan. Maybe this is actually machlokas, says Rashi. Tani chayavin Rabbi hidi emer el gabi chayfer bor tisha. If you dug 9, hoyil avad bashir nizakin, since you did a level that can cause damage, havi shutaf nizakin, you're considered to be a partner of that. V'hacha diabdi kamoy shir misa. So the person did a shir misa. Havi kun shutfin b'teshlumi misa. They all have to pay. And then the other shita. So therefore, the other one who says acharon is the Rabbanan. Shermasvid hava Rabbanan. No, really, it's all like the Rabbanan. So adkan lekam Rabbanan acharon chayiv. The last one is only chayiv. Like for example, putting this tar or putting this plaster. Elahechadoi ovid kama shir misa, because the first person did not do a shir misa. If it was less than 10. Elahechadi ovid kama shir misa. If the Rabbanan might have kol chayavin. that they're all going to be chayiv. What are you talking about? We just said that when he did the plaster, the first person already did a shir misa. It says mashma only the last one is chayiv, but according to you should say that they're both chayiv. So Amri hasam shul hayaboy hevel misa, because there was not hevel, there was not enough of this odor for it to die. This person was moisif. He was moisif onto it. So Ikadi Amri Yom Rav Zvid Hava Rabbi. Actually, both are statements are like Rabbi. The one who says that everyone is potter, it makes sense. Only the last one can go in Shloiboy Hevel Lil Misavil in the Zokin. It's talking about where we're dealing with a pit which it did not have enough hevel of this odor, not even for damages. And then someone added Bein Lamisa Bein Lanazokin. Fine. Let's get to the two dots. Omer Rabbi Heniach Evan Al Piabor. You put a rock on the pit. Yishlima Sarah, and by doing that you're mashlim it to 10. Bano Machlok is Rabban. It says Rashi. Rabbanan achar chayiv, only the last one is chayiv. Bein l'nesakin, bein l'misa. Rabbi acharein l'misa, achar shneim l'nesakin. So again, according to Rabbanan, the last one is going to be always chayiv. However, Rabbi says only the last one is chayiv by misa, but they're going to. However, both of them would be chayiv by damage. So pshit the manatema umatahu the havla didei kakatale. When it came to the lower one, so it could kill. Above the loy havla didei kakato. It's not your havel that caused the death. It says Rashi, Madatem ben Rabbi Rabbanan acharon potter. The lav havla didei katlinan, because the whole chiddush is the last one's going to be potter because it wasn't his havel that caused the animal to die. Boy Rava. So Rava asked a question. Tom tefach v'silik avanav mahu. Let's say you closed it up at tefach, and then it says Rashi hachayfer bor tes. So it was 9 tefachim. V'acher heshlim l'asar, and after you completed it to 10, v'chaz acharon v'sasam. Another person came and closed it up. Umili offer oiso tefach shahaisif, and he added another tefach of dirt. So basically, it was 9 plus 1, but then he added more earth to close it up to make it 9 again. So v'sil kavanamahu miamrina and mad avad shakle. Whatever he did, he took away. Therefore, it's less than 10. Dilma nistalko masirishain. He removed the masirishain. V'kamalei kuli b'rshusei. It's considered to be completely as rishus teiku. Let's look at question 9. Heichem ishkachas law bor shel shtei shutvin. How do we find a pit of 2 partners? L'chayiv shnehem l'inin misa b'bor. How is it possible that if you have 2 partners, they're going to be chayiv? So one answer we said is v'bor b'rshus hashutvin. If you had a pit in the rishus of the partners, they have kir rishus and l'boyrin. They're mafka the rishus, so people could enter into that property, but they own the pit. In that situation, they're both chayiv. If you have a bor, let's say, which is 10 tefachim, and both of them together did the last dig, which they together made it into 10, which is obvious. And kararisha and yutfachim, let's say the first person dug 10, the karasheni oid yutfachim, and the other person dug another 10. So we say also in that situation, these partners, if you will, they're all both going to be chayiv. Okay. All right, let's look at TA 9. Not clear question. Let's see, maybe it was clear. Bor shel shtei shutvin, avar alav harishain hasheni chayiv. That's what our Mishnah said. Mimatai nichnas hasheni tachas harishain. When does the second person take over from the first? The chayiv hakoilness. Only the second person is chayiv. Him chayubu medin shoyel or medin shoymer. Rashi. Didn't do that yet. Let's just continue. Okay, 2 dots. Amar Rabba, Bar Bar Chana, Amar Shmuel, Bar Marta. Bar Shmoina, let's say I have a pit which is 8 tfachim. Umehem Shnei tfachim. And from them, it's 2 tfachim mayim chayim. So basically it's a bor which is shmoina. Umehen shnei tvachim. In other words, 2 of the 8 is water. So my taima. So what's the reason? So kol tefach damaya could trade the abasha dami. So even though we're dealing with 2, it's really only 8, but every 2 tefachim is water. Water is moisif havla, which Rashi says. It creates a greater level of putrid smell. And therefore, the 2 tefachim is like it's 4, and therefore it becomes like 10. Let's say it's 9 and 1 tefach. One of the 9 is water. So again, if it's 8 plus 1, is that 1 really like 2? It's only 1 tefach of water. It doesn't really double. Or maybe the fact that it's deeper now, so even that 1 tefach of water does a lot of damage. For that matter, let's say you have a pit which is 7 tefachim, and 3 of the 7, which means you have 4 of dry land, and then you have 3 of water. So the 3 could be again 6. So much water, therefore it's also going to cause more problems. So okay. So we ended up saying all the other cases is we're not sure. But again, if the pit is 8 tefachim and there's 2 tefachim of water, everyone says you'll be cloud. Okay. Let's get to the next 2 dots. Ba'mine Rav Shezbi Merava. He asked the following question. Hirchiva mahu. Let's say it's wide. What is the din? Amalei harimiyat havla. So if it's wide, so there's not so much of this odor, and therefore it's not a problem. Amalei adarab harikir hazeka. Now there's less walking space and a greater likelihood of damage. Elom Ravashi Nixian Elitzi. If it was the smell that killed Harimiyat Havala, and therefore you're going to be potter. But because there's less walking space, it hit the ground, Harikirav Hazeka. Again, depending on who you hold, like whether or not you're chayiv for chavata. Ikad Yamri, some say that was Omer Ravashi Nixian Elitzi. If the extended space, if he fell on this extended space, Harikiv Hazeka, Kirav Hazeka. Therefore, it caused damage. Nafal fell on the other side, Harmiat Havala. So therefore, again, you have to analyze and look at the situation whether you would be chayiv or not. Itmar. Bor she'oimka krachava. Let's say you have a pit in which its width is comparable to its depth. Rabbi Yosef Mitavayu Mishmei Rabbi Bar Chana Diarbe Mishmei Rabbi Dramani Chad Oimer Oim Yeshba Hevel, that's always going to have the smell. Achehe Rachva Yoiser Al Oimka. This is very similar to more in Shabbos actually. That or maybe Arabin, I would say that the Hevel, it has to be that the width is more than the depth. That we're not going to have hevel unless it's deeper than width. So this is a little bit of a tricky question, question 10. So if the width is more than its depth, however, if rachboi ka'amkoi, if it's exact, the width is the same as its depth, that's where there would be a machlokas. So I don't think we actually end up even doing question 9. TA9, I don't see. We did. Okay, I think we're actually going to see it later on. And tomorrow, we'll see it tomorrow. Question TB10. Be'elu gimel fanim mishkach l'bor shel shei shutvin l'chayev. So there we go. This is the same question as question 9. So again, we can be talking about where the shutvin were mafker the rishus, but not the bor. Or it was already dug 9 and they both together dug it to 10. Or we're talking about ba'akar shneim b'masachas chuliv hashlimu yud, or b'chayfer tes hashlimu acher liyud l'rabu nezakin. So as you see, he says that he doesn't say the case of that it was 10 and then the next person was mashlim at another 10. Adkan.